Louise Stow, welcome to Back to Byker.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, lovely to see you. You played
You
Marie
too.
Halloran for four series of Byker Grove between 1993 and 1996. Are you ready for a trip down memory lane?
Absolutely.
Okay, tell me about how you got a part on Byker.
So I think it was quite similar to quite a lot of other people. They went around secondary schools. At the time, we were rehearsing Beauty and the Beast, and they just came in. It wasn't actually, I don't think we were even told ahead. I think we just turned up at rehearsal, and the casting team were there. So they just sort of auditioned everyone who was in the room at the time. And then from there, a group of us got called to go to the Mitre to do kind of another workshop. And then I was called back again to do a camera test. And then after that, just a letter through the post telling me I got the part. So it was quite a straightforward, easy process. And I think at the time there were probably about I think five new characters coming into it.
Mhm.
So yes, it was myself. There was Kerry Ann who played Flora. Um, Andrew and Claire, who played the twins, Neil Blackstone, who played Aaron. So yes, there's a few of us that started similar time.
Nice. That must have took the pressure off a bit, did it? Having other people starting with you.
Absolutely, yeah. It was really nice that there's a group of us starting because you sort of go in there and by that point, most of us had kind of seen Biker Grove and
Yeah,
you sort of feel like you're going in and recognizing people. So it was quite nice to have quite a few newbies together.
yeah. So you'd been watching the show before you joined?
Well, only the series before. Before that, my brother used to watch it, and it was always competition between Back Grove and Home and Away. And
Mhm.
I was team Home and Away. So, but once I got the part, I thought, well, I better brush up. So watch the series before, yeah.
Yeah. Give us a refresher on Marie. How would you describe her?
So Marie she came in as a friend of Patsy's.
Mhm.
Patsy's been confirmed, and Marie was confirmed alongside of her. And then she sort of started at the Grove, and she was kind of a bit of a, I'd say probably one of the boys a bit more. She sort of hung around with Fru and Barney. They started up kind of like a DJing thing, and she was their manager.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, so she was quite strong-willed. She knew her own mind, and yeah, she seemed to sort of stand her own against the boys, definitely.
Yeah. How was she different to you? In what way?
Um, in some ways, we were actually quite similar in character. I was
Right.
always quite strong-minded, and so we were quite sort of similar in that way. Where she was very different was her dress sense. She had absolutely appalling dress sense, and yeah, every time I used to go into costume, like really I'm wearing that, because some of the other girls who were getting a bit older had some really nice costumes, and she was always in like shell tops and
Yeah,
trainer boots and things like that. So yeah, her dress sense were quite different.
yeah. It's funny you say that. I actually remember the first time I met you, you had giant blue hair bubbles. Do you remember those?
Yes, yes, they were horrific. Yeah.
Let's talk about the 90s though, because it was a great era, wasn't it? It was a great time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
What?
think I think the good thing about it is because you still had kind of that sort of innocence of childhood because it was before social media, it was before mobile phones, all of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was kind of, it was a very different time to what it is
Mm.
now. So
Are you glad that we didn't have phones and social media when we were on TV?
Absolutely. I can't imagine how it would have been. I think we were sort of quite sheltered. I think especially sort of in Newcastle, everyone knew someone who was in Byker Grove, so it wasn't
Mm.
really that big of a deal. People sort of bumping into you on weekends.
Mm.
But I think if we had been exposed to sort of social media in the same way, I think it would be a very different minefield to have to work through.
Yeah. How did you find being recognized in town?
Like I say, in Newcastle, it was quite a regular thing. People would shout, like Byker
Mm.
Grove at you and the theme tune. Where I noticed it more was I had family who lived down south, and I used to go down in the summer.
Yeah.
And it was, that was where people really recognised you and would want to come up and ask for autographs and things. And that was really strange because sort of didn't get that locally, and then all of a sudden you'd go somewhere else, and people did recognise you. Um, so it was quite a strange thing really because once I'd finished Biker Grove, I went to university, and for years I had people saying, "Oh, I know you from somewhere. Oh, did you used to go to my school?" And you sort of because I kind of sort of stopped mentioning it. I'd even forgot, because it'd been a couple of years since it had been on TV. You sort of got that recognizable face, which was always quite strange.
Are there people in your life now who don't know that you are on the show?
Oh yeah, loads of people.
Really?
Oh yeah,
How
because
is
it was
that possible? I never understand that.
because it's sort of not something that comes up in everyday conversation. And then all of a sudden something will happen and I'll mention it and people are like, what? Sorry. I'm like, oh yeah. But I also felt as well when I went to uni, because I moved away from Newcastle, I kind of sort of stopped mentioning it. And it sort of became one of those things that's like, at what point do you tell people, when you've been friends with someone for a couple of years, you sort of got this part of your life. And it wasn't that I kept it a secret, it just didn't necessarily come up
Yeah.
immediately.
Mm. Well, it's now streaming on STV Player and it's going to be coming soon to ITVX. So there's going to be a whole new generation who are going to be discovering it. Are you ready for that?
Um, Well, I mean, I've aged a bit since then, so hopefully, I won't be getting recognized anymore. But yeah, it is. I mean, I think it's really great that it's coming out because it means, like I've got children now, and they'll be able to kind of watch it, and
Mm.
so I think it's yeah, it'll be nice to kind of to watch it again ourselves actually as
Yeah.
well.
Have you seen any on STV Player?
I've seen a bit, yeah. I've
Yeah.
watched yeah, so a bit of sort of series 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of slowly introducing my children to it as well. So, but it's interesting because the themes are just so, you would not get those themes in children's TV
No.
programs now, and you
Mm.
sort of you almost sort of forget about them, and then when you start watching, think, oh yeah, actually we did tackle quite a lot of
Yeah.
really big themes.
Mm. And being a mum now, how would you feel about your kids watching a show like Byker?
I think it's always important to have the conversations.
Hmm.
You sort of see there's, these new shows out recently, and I think they always generate discussion. So I
Yeah.
think, but I definitely think it would, whereas Biker Grove was often watched by kind of, children at the end of primary school and early teens, I would
Yeah.
definitely say that now it would probably be aimed at a kind of older teenage audience.
Mm.
But I do think it's important that those conversations are had, and it's a good way to have those conversations through watching things on TV.
Yeah. And we saw with Marie and with loads of other characters as well, mine included. When you first came into the show, you had like the fun, light-hearted stuff, and then as you got older, you got the more dramatic, meatier storylines. Is there any that in particular that you enjoyed?
Um, Marie did sort of stay quite kind of fun, she was often around with Drew and Barney. I think the storyline that stands out is the sort of the love triangle with Fru,
Yeah.
because they're always an interesting one because you've got on-screen kisses and things
Mhm.
like that. And so they were the ones that were more challenging to do, but just because of the age that we were at as well.
Yeah. How did you find Screen Kisses?
I mean, I only had one, and they dealt with it really well. They have minimum crew on set at the time, and
Mhm.
the sort of the welfare around it was really good. They really looked after us.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, Luke was one of my friends, so it was just awkward,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Who else were you friends with on set?
I'd probably say Kerry Ann, who played Flora,
Yeah.
was, we were pretty much inseparable for a couple of years. Weekends I'd either be living at her house or hers at mine.
Mhm.
And then Joanne McIntosh, I mean, we were friends before the show. We went to primary
Oh,
school
really?
together. We danced together. She still lives around the corner from my parents. So she's always been a really good friend. And then Justine, who played Patsy,
Mhm.
she really took me under her wing when I first started because all my sort of early scenes were with her. But I think on the whole, we talk about being one big family, but it did feel like that. It's sort of you felt at home when you were at the Mitre, and the cast and crew, really bonded well together. Um, and the crew were like a second family to us as well. Really looking after us.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular when you think about your time on Biker that stands out for you? But like, what does it make you think of straight away?
Um, I think more of it was just what a privilege it was to have such a
Mhm.
kind of different element to your teen years.
Mhm.
I think I was always interested in kind of drama, and I just feel really lucky that I had the chance to sort of try it out um as a child in that kind of protected environment. I think people don't realize how protected you are as a child actor because you've got minimum hours on set, you've got
Hmm.
chaperones looking after you. Whereas as an adult, that's all taken away. So as soon as you hit 16, that's all taken away.
Yeah.
And the industry is much tougher than we realised as children.
Hmm.
And so I think to sort of be able to have that opportunity as a teenager was fantastic. And
Hmm.
for me, it made me decide it wasn't what I wanted. But I'd much rather that than sort of then go into it as an adult and realize later down the line.
Yeah. I was watching some old episodes the other day and your exit, and it was quite fast how it all suddenly happened. You just walked
Mm.
down the drive and left. Were you happy with the way you left, and were you ready to leave the show at that point?
In some ways, yes. It was just before I started my GCSEs. It was in the April, and I had my GCSEs starting. So timing wise, it felt fine. I think the way the character ended, it wasn't, the big dramatic exits that other
Mm.
characters had. Um, but I feel like looking back, her kind of friendship groups and her storylines had kind of come to a close.
Yeah.
And it was, where's that character gonna go? And she could have just fizzled out into the background. And I'd much rather have had that kind of clean break of, yeah, she's moving. I think it was moving to another youth club or something. And
Yeah.
um, but I think for her character, I think her character would kind of run a sort of uh, place really. So I think it was if for personally for me it felt like the right time.
Mm.
But like anything, I was, absolutely gutted to be leaving because
Mm.
I'd really enjoyed working on the show.
Yeah. Just before your GCSEs, that's quite young actually
Mm,
to leave the show. Yeah.
yeah.
So what was next? What was the next move?
So after that, I went on to do A levels to university,
Yeah.
and I went on to study kind of film studies because I thought I wanted to work behind the scenes.
Okay.
And actually, Matthew Robinson, he was working at BBC Wales at the time, so he got me some work experience there.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the point when I realised actually I don't think this is for me because just the long hours, and I just wasn't passionate enough about it. I
Mhm.
remember talking to someone who's working on set who was saying, "Oh, I've not put my children to bed, once this week if they've been in bed when I've got up, because we were over on schedule and things." And I just thought, oh, I don't know if that's what I want for my life,
Mhm.
and I was really passionate about kind of helping people, and sort of decided that actually working in education might be a better fit for me. So
Okay. And that's what you're doing now.
it is, yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Very good. And what was it about being in front of the camera that you didn't want to do?
If I'm honest, I think it was the whole being recognized. It just didn't, it wasn't for me. I found it quite uncomfortable, kind of having to, I don't know, I didn't like that side of it.
Right.
Um, and I think as well, it's also, there was quite a few people who'd left Biker and had tried acting, and it was hard for it's
Yeah.
hard for Geordie actors, and at the time Matt and Deck were quite big, and there's a few other people who came out,
Mm.
and it was always like, oh, are you following in their footsteps? And they're big shoes to fill,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I went on to kind of do sort of quite a lot of sort of teaching junior drama and youth drama, and I enjoyed that side of things.
Okay.
Yeah, and still continue doing kind of some like amateur things, which is always good fun. So.
Yeah. Great. And I hear that one of your boys is following in your footsteps.
Yes, well, I mean, both my children, my daughter and my son, have both they both were interested in kind of performing arts. But my
Okay.
son's really, yeah, he's sort of been involved in a few sort of BBC things, and he's done kind of like some sort of UK stage tours as well. So, yeah, so yeah, he's definitely sort of interested in it. But I think for him, it's similar to what I said. I was really felt fortunate that I got the chance to try it out while I was young, and I kind of feel the same for him that it gives him that opportunity to understand the resilience you need in the
Mhm.
profession. It's a completely different industry to how it was when I was that age.
Mhm.
It's completely opened up, and he's had to kind of go through quite a few, went down to the last two for some big roles, and
Mhm.
that handling that rejection, which I think is important. They have to learn that resilience. So if he does decide he wants to go down this route, then at least he's had that opportunity to try it as a child and understand what's needed.
Yeah. That came as a big shock to me, actually, that you weren't going to get every part that you went for because we're there
Yeah,
for a long time and we bagged the first job we got. And then the rejection
absolutely.
came later. Yeah. So that was a nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is tough for them, it is tough for any young actors. But it's still, quite a lot of people who he knows, who really struggled with that side of it.
Yeah,
But I think it's important that they understand what the industry is. It's just not an easy industry at all.
absolutely. I've got some quick fire questions for you.
Go on.
Who was bad at remembering their lines on set?
Oh, bad at remembering the lines. Um, I kind of feel like I want to say Stephen Carr, but who played Barney, but he'll probably he probably won't be happy with me for that.
Yeah, I'm not trying to start any trouble. Who was always late to set?
Always late to set. Yeah, well, probably I'm going to say Stephen and Luke because they were up to mischief somewhere, so they're never where they were meant to be.
If you could have been any other character, who would it have been and why?
Oh, who would it have been? Oh, I don't know really. No, that's a tricky one to answer.
You were happy with
Probably
yours?
Alison would lead in the Grove.
Run the
Yeah,
Grove, yeah.
trying to look after all the Grovers.
Yeah. What did you spend your first biker paycheck on?
Oh, now I remember this. I got a flowery denim jacket from Tammy Girl, is what I
All
got. So I remember it. It was absolutely awful. But at the time, I loved it.
right. And finally, what's your favorite Geordie word or phrase?
Oh, Hawaii. It's got to be
That
Hawaii.
way, classic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you very much, Louise. This has been lovely.
Yeah, lovely to catch up with you, Andrew.
We just went back to biker.